Father John Misty, Chloë in the Next 20th Century album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest from Father John Misty, aka Mr. Josh Tillman. You may know him from his work in Fleet Foxes. He's also been at it for a few years now. He's become sort of a real modern master of folk. He's also dabbled in some chamber pop as well, some Baroque folk. And I hate to say it, I hate to even bring it up, but in his early days, recording under J. Tillman, I could care less about some of the stuff that he was putting out. He was putting out this very straightforward, color by numbers, indie folk that I just had so much of at the time, and I didn't want to hear any more of it. It wasn't until he changed his name to Father John Misty and started drifting in a more interesting lyrical direction that I really got on board. This lyrical direction was a lot more bitter, a lot more cynic, a lot more sarcastic. I thought his first album under the name Fear Fun was okay at times. Had a lot of great tracks like Nancy From Now On, and I still get chills listening to Hollywood Forever Cemetery Sings. But around the time of his I Love You Honey Bear album, I became a full-fledged fan overnight. Between his wit, his cynicism, but his also deep appreciation and knowledge of what makes such great folk music, I became just this wild fan of Tillman overnight, and honestly, he became almost a prophet of weird ways. His follow-up, Pure Comedy, was equal parts engaging, but unbelievably bleak as well, but incredibly necessary too. And while maybe not the same gut punch at the end of the day, God's Favorite Customer still is so much better than so much of what passes in indie folk these days. I've been excited for this album for a while, and honestly, the singles have been really good too. Let's chat about this thing. I do have to say, this album is a big shift for Tillman as far as his sound goes. He's almost left the folk side of him behind, and in its place we get this very classy, very jazzy, very snappy Baroque pop. With this album's intro, Chloë, we see kind of the same old Father John Misty. And it has a lot of layers. On one hand, it is very bubbly. It is very sweet. It is a very loving caricature. I would even go as far as to say I'll take this over some of his ballads that ended up on Pure Comedy, like Smoochie. But at the same time, it's a little bitter at points. It's a little sarcastic. Father John Misty hasn't actually changed much. But alongside of these very lush, very lavish instrumentals, it's a treat. As far as one track here that kind of really sticks to Father John Misty's sound, it would probably be Goodbye Mr. Blue. On the ears, it's sweet. It's breezy, it's so nice. In a lot of ways, it does remind me of the Josh Tillman we got on I Love You Honey Bear. He also has this real gift for painting these visual masterpieces. And at first, this relationship kind of seems really sweet until he dives into some of the later details, and things get pretty dark pretty quick, and pretty bleak too. I mean, things get very, very somber very quick when he goes into talking about the cat that passed away and how this kind of makes him realize he wishes that he was still in this crappy relationship. My God, it's so sweet on the ears, but it's so depressing and morbid at times. But in a weird way, it's kind of what we expect from Father John Misty and what we tune in to hear. This album may not be a gigantic artistic leap for him, but man, it has a lot of happiness and love and joy and beauty, but it also has a lot of heartbreak and genuine emotion and dismal lows. I've been really liking Kiss Me, I Loved You a lot recently. It's one of the most straightforward tracks here by far, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually kind of needed it. It's a really sweet ballad with an incredibly lush instrumental. It's just really nice. Then we have Everything But Her Love. Stylistically, you know the drill. And you know what? There are a lot of tales of love and romance on this album. Most go pretty deep into it too. But ironically, Father John Misty on this album really paints a very valid picture of just how many layers there are to relationships in general. And I love it. I think a lot of this album is a fascinating dive. This track is really interesting. The instrumental itself is weird. It seems oddly influenced by like really weird era Beatles, but also Harry Nilsson. And as this album continues to roll on and on and on, it's coming very clear, very quick that as sweet and lush and full of life as this album sounds, it has an incredibly dismal and incredibly emotionally gutting underbelly, much like Pure Comedy. Buddy's Rendezvous hits really hard. This is a teary-eyed bar ballad that has certainly the right title to it. I mean, I have to give Misty credit. The guy has this incredible ability on this album to paint these caricatures and portraits, and pretty vividly too. Once again, another track that seems so light on the ears and sweet and easy to take in that just gets more and more bleak as this track rolls on. I mean, these lyrics alone will break your heart and wake you up. It's kind of like, I don't know, like that first sip of coffee in the morning. In a weird way, once again, much like pure comedy, Father John Misty has this ability to tell you things that you may not want to hear, that might hurt you to hear, but things that are probably really relevant for you to hear. And you never want to look away because it's presented really nice. There are a few areas of this album where I wish he kind of pushed the button a little bit more. Olividado, Otro Momento is one of them for sure. I liked it a lot at first because of how beautiful it gets, and this instrumental is really nice, but it has lessened on me. Lyrically, this is far from Josh's best. It's a very flimsy track at the end of the day. I mean, it's nice to hear Josh sing in Spanish. He does it justice. But outside of that, this track doesn't have a lot to fall back on. Just kind of nice while it's on. And, I hate to say it, but I really haven't been that wild about Funny Girl since it dropped. I mean, it's certainly heartfelt. It's wonderfully performed, that's for sure. But truthfully, it's a weird track. It is downright odd lyrically at times. Bizarre, even. And it's not like Josh isn't being himself. He certainly is. I don't know. I just wish this hit me a little bit harder. And We Could Be Strangers is easily the worst track here. This one is underwhelming on a lot of other levels. Instrumental-wise, this is one of the safest sounding ones here. It is so flimsy, especially in this sea of very lavish, elegant instrumentals. And some of the ideas here, oh god, they're fine, but there's 8 other tracks on this album that sound so much better than this. Outside of that, though, as bleak and even morbid as this album gets at times, I still think it's, you know, some really quality stuff from Mr. Father John Misty. I've loved Q4 since it dropped. It is so elegant and so sweet. It's once again one of the more narrative-driven tracks on here. There are a lot of those, and you might not be into that. And listen, if that's not your thing, trust me, I get it. But for me, this is a sort of fascinating, interesting rise and fall story that only Father John Misty can put together. It's not going to be for everyone, though. I get that. I have a lot of the same feelings on Only a Fool. I think this is the best deep cut here. This is so sweet, so playful. It is genuinely adorable. It almost has like, I don't know, like a Disney feel to it. Like if you put this in a Pixar movie, it would be right at home. And as a finale, the next 20th century is pretty unbelievable. It is an absolute masterpiece, and I think one of the best tracks Josh has put out in years. In this album's narrative, which may or may not be for you, it is easily the most dramatic piece. And I don't want to spoil too much, because I think you should probably listen to it yourself. But instrumental-wise, this is far from anything Josh has ever touched. It is wild, chaotic. It will keep you guessing for the entire almost 7 minutes that it runs. That, as well as, you know, some intense lyrical themes, some vicious performances, some weird lyrics and crazy visuals. It's insane. It's one of the best tracks I've heard from Father John Misty in quite some time. I love this. I love a lot of this, and it's not going to be for everyone because there are soaring highs on this album that are gorgeous, absolutely staggeringly so, and it's really elegant, but it's also really morbid, very real, much like a lot of Josh's other work. If you like albums like Pure Comedy, you're probably going to like this. And is this the biggest artistic leap for him? No. Is it his biggest artistic statement? You can argue that. I don't know if I would. But honestly, this is a very, very good album from Father John Misty. I'm very happy with this, and I didn't think I was going to like this as much as I did, but for now, I'm feeling a decent 8. But let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.